I bet that was just it that I just saw previously.
March 7th?
Yeah, and I bounced right past it because I saw.
That's it right there.
Oh, that's freaking funny.
Is that
oh
not
my
wild?
heck!
Is that not wild?
Oh my gosh!
Now,
he
I've
really
seen
stacked
pictures
them.
from a long time ago of a revolver that had 38 special stuff stuck in it.
Okay,
But-
you can say hi to the 3 people.
Hey folks, who is there? Who's listening right now? Hold on, we got to go to. Do I go to YouTube or do I go to Facebook to see who's on there?
It's YouTube.
YouTube?
Yeah.
All right.
If you click on the link there, you can pull it up and chat.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, you want to say
Wow,
hi?
he really
There's Bill.
stacked those in.
Doing a little pre-show prep. We'll be
Well,
on
now
about-
this
All of the stuff to talk about today.
Now the article says 45, but this says 9mm.
They look more like 45, but well.
What is it that Bill's going to be telling us?
Well, wait,
about?
what's the model number of the gun? That'll tell you. I think it was a
995 TS carbon.
Let's say that again.
995 TS carbon.
Oh, I thought it was a 49 or 4.
Well, that's what the article says. The article says it's a 45.95.
Well, then somebody is messed up.
Yeah.
But they look more like 45.
Yeah, they
shells.
do, and yeah, they do look like 45. But that is awesome. How they?
Is that not wild?
I mean, they are fused together.
Yeah. What's the
They got that
chamber
first
pressure on a
gap.
45? About 15,000, probably. 15 to 18,000 psi.
Well, what does the magazine hold?
I don't know. It's probably a Glock mag. Or no, High Point has its own. You need to look
Because
that
you
up.
have to have
Find out
35
if High
rounds.
Point-
Because it looks like, unless he just said, "Up,
Well,
drop
he
the
just
magazine."
he was having accuracy problems. Can you imagine how far he must have moved that rear sight to try to get on target?
It took him 35 rounds to say, "Where are my shots going?"
And his shell cases had to be so carbon colored and black and.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
You guys make sure you get some licorice here.
Sorry. Make sure I get some licorice.
Make sure you get this licorice.
I don't see anybody
When he
talking.
called stating he was having acne
Hey,
issues.
say something so we know you're there. Isn't that what you're supposed to do if you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever?
I have no idea.
Hey, I'm sporting my
I
appropriate
got my
liquor
appropriate shirt underneath, but
underneath.
my
We don't want to know what your underwear is.
that's my Utah Shooting Sports stuff.
Oh. Hawaii. We're going to Hawaii for a little bit.
Yeah,
Which I mean, in this.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Wait a minute. Where's my other
They
Hawaii?
want to.
I had 2 Hawaii things. Yeah, there they are.
Well, they want to
Ban the Second,
ban the Second Amendment.
Hey, but you know what they say? We don't want to take your guns. We just want to ban the Second Amendment so you can't have guns.
Right.
So,
Because we don't know what to do with them if we
all
have
right.
them in
Hey,
the
look at
first
this.
place.
You got your headphones?
No. Are we that close? Ooh.
Disney is launching a streaming service called Disney Plus. It will feature the studio's entire motion picture library. That even includes films that have traditionally been kept in its vault. The vault refers to the company's marketing strategy. Where
Songs of the South.
Hey, I'll take a piece of licorice. A piece of licorice.
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 Yeah.
I just want.
February 10th? That was a long time ago.
What's that?
February 10th in the...
Jan
This
Michael
guy
Vincent
He
that
died on
2010.
February 10th?
And we're just finding out about it.
Wow.
Come on.
Also on highways, traffic lights pointed out at 8th North and Main Street. Earlier crash on southbound I-15 near 215 has been cleared. Most 515 now wide open. Same goes for 215 by TrueCar.
Looking to buy a car? Online shopping can be confusing. Not anymore with free price from TrueCar. Now you can pick the exact price you'll pay for the car you want and see what other people can afford too. A used car visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. I have only 5 words for you.
From my cold, dead hands.
It's time for Gun Radio Utah. No apologies. A show dedicated to preserving and protecting your constitutional right to bear arms for your security and sport. Here's your host, well-known gun rights advocate and chairman of the Utah Shooting Sports Council, Clark Aposian.
Welcome to Gun Radio Utah. No apologies, and you know what that means when we say there's no apologies. We just don't apologize for stuff that Bill does.
I don't.
Anyway,
Oh,
I'm Clark Aposian. Sitting across from me is Bill Pedersen. Bill, nice to have you back in here.
so glad to be back. Sorry I ran out of vacation, so I had to come back.
Really? Is that what it was?
Yep.
All right. And we are both members of the Utah Shooting Sports Council. Go to utahshootingsportscouncil.org, utahshootingsportscouncil.org. Sign up for alerts and that type of stuff because there have been some alerts. We are going to talk about some legislative stuff. We've only got, looking at the Trigicon calendar, well, we've got Thursday. Till Thursday at midnight.
Thursday, 4 more crazy days up at the Capitol.
Yeah. I left there at 8:30 or 8:45 Thursday night, and had to make sure we had to get a bill passed. We weren't killing a bill that night, but no, that was HB 243. I call it DVCCW, but it's basically your permitless carry for permitless carry for
Domestic
petitioners
violence.
of domestic violence protective orders.
Yeah.
So that still has to make it through the full Senate, which we think it will. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about that. We've got to talk about, so get your pencil and a piece of paper out. Yeah, definitely need to make some phone calls today, maybe during on the commercials. Yeah, we'll make the phone calls on the commercials or email, and I'm going to help you out on the email on how to email 98% of your legislators. If you know their name, their first name and their last name, I'll give you an easy way to email them. So, and I just verified all the R's on that committee that we're going to be talking about and their emails. So, we're going to be talking about HB 190. We're also going to go to Hawaii. You know what the Hawaiians are doing. Yeah, and just crazy talk. Just crazy talk.
Yeah.
New York. We're going to go run over to New York real quick. I'm going to go down to D.C. and North Carolina. In fact, I gotta do this one from North Carolina right now because it's kind of exciting. Yes, Doran. Oh, yeah. Doran wants to talk about the YouTube. That's Doran. Doran Barton is doing our video. So, Doran, what do I tell him now? Do I say go to YouTube?
YouTube.com.
And then search Gun Radio Utah. And you get a live stream, or go to Facebook and go to Gun Radio Utah on Facebook.
And you get the live stream there.
You can go to my Facebook and follow the link.
Yep.
And you can join in. You can text us little messages on Facebook, and maybe we will talk about them if I look at them. So, Doran, you're going to have to monitor all that. So, all the appropriate ones. North Carolina. Did you see this, Bill? North Carolina lawmakers have some legislation, because they're in session just like Utah is. I don't know how long theirs is. They have a bill called the School Security Act of 2019. Guess what it does? Yes.
The School Security Act.
So they're concerned in North Carolina about these school shootings and that type of thing. So they're going to give teachers a 5% salary boost who undergo basic police training and carry a gun.
And substitute teachers?
And substitute teachers, yeah. So I don't think they should have to go through all that basic police training, because unless we expect them to go roaming the halls looking for the bad guy, but...
Well, we don't want to have sirens and lights and all that.
Yeah. So, okay, hold on. No. All right. So these they call them teacher resource officers, because they've got standard resource officers,
right,
but apparently they have to pay them a lot. They can carry guns these teacher resource officers can carry guns open in a concealed manner. Interesting that they say open. And they would have the same arrest powers as police officers.
You say they can carry openly?
Yeah. Or concealed. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Republican State Senator Warren Daniel one of the bill's sponsors, told CNN, can you imagine the poor CNN reporter that had to do this? He said, it's a way to put a lot of security on the ground in our schools. He added, it's extremely costly to put a school resource officer in every school, and there's a great shortage of the number of applicants to law enforcement agencies. That's the same way it is here in Utah. The bill is an attempt to bridge that gap. Now, in a big sub-headline, thank you, Lundy, 5 minutes on that, and he says most teachers are against the idea. The NEA.
Well, hold on. You just contradicted yourself.
The NEA, the National Education Association, found in a 2018 poll that an overwhelming majority of teachers would not want to carry a gun in school. Okay, folks, those folks that don't want to carry a gun in school, don't carry a gun in school. Problem solved.
Exactly.
Right there. It says we don't need firearms in our schools.
Then don't pull the fire alarm.
Mark Jewell, president of the North Carolina Association of Educators. Okay, so that's great. So if you don't carry guns in schools, does that mean there won't be any firearms in schools? The naivete is astounding.
It's explosive.
And then I'm just going to end. But can you imagine this person saying this as they're wringing their hands and that, we went down. Thank you. Okay. So imagine this person says, teachers need to be armed with support specialists, such as psychologists, counselors, and nurses to address the social, emotional, and psychological health needs of our students. Jewell added.
I bet you they sell a lot of bed sheets in that state.
Yeah, I think so. Bill, what have you got?
I've got all kinds of fun stuff we're going to talk about later. Guy shoots himself in the leg, holstering a gun.
Really?
This happened in Jacksonville, Mississippi. Or not Jacksonville, Jackson, Mississippi.
That's an exciting way to holster a gun.
Did it in the parking lot at an IHOP. So we'll kind of cover that. Talk a little bit more about that.
Okay, I automatically have some. I'll bring it up.
Save it.
I automatically have something I want to say.
Also, we got an issue. Now, this is interesting. This is from the IHOP article. Is also with a guy with a High Point. I've got another High Point story.
So you've got a neat little segue?
Got 2 High Point segue stories, yeah. Guy was calling customer service at High Point because he was having an accuracy issue with his firearm.
Okay.
And we'll share with that later about what the problem was and how they figured it out.
All right.
Pretty interesting.
All right, so I've got to tell you about this bill. That's HB, House Bill 190. It's on its third substitute, which the substitute hasn't been adopted yet. It just means the change in the bill. Anyway, Representative Andrew Stoddard, he's a freshman representative from the Democrat Party.
Out of Midvale.
Yeah. So he has come up with this bill called Liability of Firearm Custodian. What it says is this.
Now, there's a nickname for this bill, too.
Yeah, but you know what? It's an improper nickname.
It is totally improper,
that just
but
means
the media is running with it.
I can just make up some name that's meant to elicit,
because of
support,
a victim.
because of a victim.
Yeah.
And call it that and get everybody to, just kind of tagline off of that. But, okay, tell us what the name is.
The Lauren McCluskey.
Yeah,
bill.
So Lauren's Law. They like that little alliteration there.
Right.
And
it's going to bleed over to all these bedwetters up on the Hill thinking, oh, we got to pass this. This is a great bill.
You know the bill that should be called Lauren's Law? HB 243 by Cheryl Watkins. Yeah,
Exactly.
Representative Christine Watkins. And that is moving. That is now on its last.
Yep.
It needs one more vote.
That's the one they should
in the
named,
Senate.
But they don't.
Yeah.
I hate it when they start naming bills after victims and they're playing off of a really horrible incident.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about HB 190. I've talked about it before on the show, liability of firearm custodian, but I've got some homework for you to do, and that means you've got to do it either today or tomorrow, because come 10 a.m. Monday, it's going to be in committee. So when we come back, make sure you have a pencil, a piece of paper, something like that, maybe your laptop ready to go when we come back on Gun Radio Utah.
Hey guys, good news. The
outrageously expensive little blue pill is now generic, which means you can get the prescription medication to treat ED at affordable prices. And Hims makes it.
So, Bill, what were you doing last weekend?
We went up to a friend of had a home up in Eden, so we went up there and we were goofing around. We drove up on Powder Mountain, holy cow, there's a ton of snow up there. I've never skied Powder Mountain, but
Now, did you
I wanna
ski or
go.
were you snowmobiling?
we were just hanging out. But I'll tell you, I wish I had my skis with me because it was gorgeous up there. Just beautiful. I didn't realize. And someone was telling me that Powder Mountain has the largest square acreage mile or square mile, whatever it is, largest resort in North America.
No kidding?
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Really?
But I'm looking at it going, okay, I could see where they're getting that from, but it looked like a riot. A lot of fun. But yeah, so we took the wife up, went and spent some time with some friends, and it was nice. Very nice. Very nice.
Clark. Hey. You're going to a movie? You're going to a movie?
Captain Marvel,
Oh, you're gonna go see that?
but it's a chick movie.
Uh-huh.
Apparently Captain Marvel is a chick.
Oh,
Oh.
Am I not supposed to say that?
I don't know.
Thank goodness we aren't on YouTube or something.
Well, yesterday was
Casey
International
wants to
Chick
see it.
Day.
Yeah.
I mean, International Women's Day.
Oh, really? Oh, you're so.
Well,
I'm not apologizing.
that's okay. I'm not asking you to
I can't apologize till after 4.
After 4. The one you got to go see. Have you seen The Mule? Have you seen The Mule with Clint Eastwood?
No.
That is an awesome movie. Very, very.
The what?
The Mule.
As in, I've seen.
M-U-L-E.
I have seen 3 Mules for Sister Sarah. He was in that one. Or was it
7
2
Mules for
Sister
7
Sarah?
Brothers or something like that? No.
What was
that's
the name
not
of
right.
that spaghetti western? Was it 3 Mules or 2 Mules for Sister Sarah?
I don't remember.
5 Mules? Anybody on YouTube? I can't remember, but
Well, let me tell you what's going on YouTube. Vern Reed said he stopped
hi,
by,
Vern.
Vern's
stopped by
great.
Joe Firearms yesterday. Nice guys, fun little
Yes.
shop.
Very
It
good.
is.
Very good shop.
Did
In
you
fact, I
see
got-
Angry Man, Steve Polano there?
They don't let him out, do they, out front? To talk to customers?
I mean, damn.
Yeah, there's, in fact, I gotta take a rifle in and see if they can do some work for me.
And yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to drop us a line in the chat.
If you have a question or a comment, let us know and we can,
Let us know
pick it
you're
up.
there.
Yeah.
We got 30 seconds. Okay. So, there's my beef stick. I got beef stick and licorice.
I
So
got
what
a
if they, what would be better? To insert beef stick into the licorice or licorice into the beef stick? A little salty, a little sweet, you know, kind of. Why am I the only one to think of that?
Why are you even thinking that? There should be 2 separate items.
Okay, here, we're coming into the.
Make my day. Utah is talking guns. It's Gun Radio Utah. No apologies. On Talk Radio 105.9 KNRS. Here's your host, Chairman of the Utah Shooting Sports Council, Clark Kaposhin.
And thank you, Lundy.
I like the little Quiet Riot.
That's Twisted Sister.
Oh,
Isn't
it
that
is
Twisted Sister? Isn't that Twisted Sister? Okay,
you're
good.
right. I'm sorry.
Can't you remember him with the long wig? Anyway,
Yeah,
we're not
I'm
going to
sorry.
take it. What a fantastic song. What's that, the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an 80s song.
Yep.
Anyway, welcome back to Gun Radio Utah. I'm your host, Clark Kaposhin. Bill Pedersen co-hosting right across from me. Not within smacking distance, but we don't need to because we don't apologize. Doran Barton is in the studio performing the video, and you can catch us on YouTube, Gun Radio Utah. Just search that, or on Facebook, Gun Radio Utah.
And the great thing is if you miss the show, you can always go back and listen to the show later throughout the week.
So, all right, get your pencils out. HB 190. It's called Liability of Firearm Custodian. What it does, it says this, is if you loan a gun to somebody, and you give a gun to somebody, actually, I think it covers even sale of a gun. If you transfer a gun to somebody, and they then go out and commit a crime with it, you are on the hook civilly. You are on the hook. Now, there's a couple substitutes that haven't yet been adopted. So the current form of it right now is still, well, I'm looking at third sub, but basically the third substitute would change and say only if the person, I think it's, I want to say it's if they commit a violent felony. And then there's an affirmative defense, which means you got to go get an attorney, but you have to, if you can prove a negative or prove that you didn't know that if you could say that you didn't know that they were likely to commit a crime with it somehow, then you're off the hook there too. But you're presumed liable. Going into that, with that assumption, then you're presumed guilty, or liable in this case because it's civil liability. Now, we already have federal liability, a criminal act.
Right.
If Bill, if I knew that you were a no-goodnik,
careful,
and that you were going to go, or that you were going to commit a crime, or that you were a prohibited person, or that you weren't a resident of this state, and a number of other things, not old enough, any of these other things, and I still transfer the gun to you, loan the gun to you, give you constructive possession of the gun, then I've committed a federal crime.
My gun?
A criminal. What's that?
Can I pick my gun that I want to borrow from you?
Yeah. No.
Oh.
I don't know. We're not talking. This also is going to have a very chilling effect on suicide prevention, because we rely on, that's one of the best tools is for suicide prevention is the ability to take a person's gun.
Right.
And then now that poor person who was contemplating suicide now is on the hook for anything you do with that gun too. The other question I have.
Okay. Well, but what about vice versa too?
And vice versa.
What if that firearm is used by a family member that was not theirs?
This
so
bill
now,
has.
I mean, it's already bad enough
you're right.
that it's already bad enough that someone may have died or committed suicide from a situation like that.
And that we now know in Utah and across the nation that, Bill, you don't own your guns completely. Your wife owns those also.
Yeah.
As many guns as you might think you have, she also has that same number. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. She knows. Hey, Casey is the same way.
We already know.
Casey,
so she already knows.
And so the question is the liability of the firearm custodian. Who's the firearm custodian in this case? So who? I mean, that's a question that hasn't been answered. How long does that liability last for? I mean, what if it's 5 years down the road? What if it's 10 years? Something like that. So anyway,
how does this work for lawyers?
It's probably something akin to the Full Employment Act for plaintiff's counsel and defense counsel, I would say, too.
Who wins out of this?
The attorneys, because this is what we're talking about.
Who wins? I mean, does the victim's family win out of this?
Well, it's money. So, and I know we've talked about this bill. I've heard it explained that this is justice, that this is a way for people to get justice. But apparently, money is now justice.
Money is justice.
Money is justice. So, I have another question. Well, an observation, if you will. So I was doing some research on false positives, which means you got a positive hit on your NICS check when you went to buy a gun. Not you, but somebody.
Right.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Because you had a similar name, similar social, similar date of birth, something like that.
Evil twin.
Guess how many of those, of the initial, 94% are in one way or the other satisfied or versus on the initial check. 94%. So that leaves 6%. 6%. I think it was 6 to 8% are actually denials, flat out strong denials. And for whatever reason, they get a huge number. So universal background checks or background checks is what this bill is driving everyone to go do. Well, they aren't the panacea as you would think. So many false positives. So HB 190 is going to be heard. It's actually number one on the list in the House Judiciary Committee, chaired by a good Second Amendment supporter, Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need to call Representative Lisenby. She's good on this bill. She understands it. And now it's vice chaired by Representative Craig Hall. Now, I'm going to give you a way that you can email.
Now, which group
pretty
is
much this is the House Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a way that you can email pretty much any legislator. There's only a few that have some variation. Take the first initial of their first name and then their last name, and then put at LE for like legislative or LE .utah, the full word UTAH .gov, G-O-V. So for Representative Hall, it would be chall at le.utah.gov. Okay? And then Cheryl Acton, Representative Cheryl Acton. She's also, that would be C. Acton, A-C-T-O-N. And then Representative Brammer, B. Brammer, B-R-A-M-M-E-R. And then Representative Hawkins, J. Hawkins, just the normal spelling, H-A-W-K-I-N-S. Representative Segmiller, T. Segmiller. That's S-E-E-G-M-I-L-L-E-R. Now, Lowry Snow, Representative Lowry Snow, actually goes kind of by his first initial. So it's V.L. Snow at le.utah.gov. And then last one, S. Waldrip. That would be S and then W-A-L-D-R-I-P at le.utah.gov.
And refresh them on the call to action here. Email these reps.
Email, and you can also, if you click on the members of that committee, if you go to utah.gov and follow the links to the legislature, and you can click on the members, and if you click on the individual member, you can find their address, you can find their phone number, and oftentimes it's their cell phone, and you can find their email address, and a nice picture of them, too.
Awesome.
I would email them. Tell them this is not a good bill. And thank you, Lundy. All right. So that is it for 190. I know that the National Rifle Association is flying in for this one. I think they're flying in tomorrow, so they can be there bright and early. All right. Let's go. I think that was 4. I think he just said it had 4 minutes. All right. So let's tell you. I'll give you a quick little rundown. HB 87, Safe Storage of Firearm Amendments. Not a good bill. It's dead. Don't worry about it. HB 87, Safe Storage of Firearm Amendments. It's dead. Now, of course, we encourage appropriate and safe storage of firearms, but that bill would, yeah. Violence Data Study, Representative Pulsifer. I'm going to give it a meh. I haven't really seen too much on it. A meh.
What's a meh measure?
Meh. M-E-A. Meh.
I know. I know how to spell
It's not bad.
How do you measure
It's not bad. I like data, although I wish it had the provision to include a lot more data points in it. But I wouldn't oppose this bill. But anyways, okay, thank you, Lundy. All right. So HB 94, it's passed. It's good. It's going to the governor's desk. It's the carrying under the influence. It was kind of a remediation of that unintended consequences there. And it also says law enforcement, it takes away that exemption that law enforcement had to carry while drunk. And it also specifies what carrying really means. It means carrying. It's on your hip or something.
Exactly.
It means carrying. Self-defense amendments, HB 114. That is passed, and it's on the way to the governor's desk. That's your stand your ground. As opposed to what the media and its detractors have said, it does not create the stand your ground ability. We've already had that, and we've had it for, by some respects, over 150 years. All right. So that is passed. What it does, it just prohibits you from being victimized twice while you go to court by the prosecutor. All right. Voluntary commitment of a firearm, HB 152, another one by Representative Malloy. That's good, and it is on its last vote in the Senate, and so it'll pass, I'm sure. Liability of firearm custodian, we already talked about that, HB 190. It's bad. It's a stinker. All right, extreme risk protective order. A lot of people have been asking about that red flag. It's stalled, it's not good, and it's dying, and it's gasping for its last vestiges of life. It's not going anywhere. And, all right, open carry near schools amendment.
That one died.
It's dead.
Yeah.
I was a witness to it.
A witness?
So, yeah, that's a HB 217.
Well, you
open
walked
carry
around
near
a school?
schools. What's that?
Well, you're open carrying around a school?
No,
or?
I was in the committee when it did that.
So, so we got these bills. We got 4 days left.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen the last week? What are the legislators thinking? What are they trying to get through? What are they trying to accomplish in this last week?
Well,
Because I know the last day they'll run till midnight.
Yeah,
and they'll
if a bill
has
had one committee hearing, so if it's a House bill, if it's had a House committee hearing and not a Senate, it can still make it to the floor and get passed. If it has two, then it has a much better chance. But it doesn't have to have two committee hearings. It just has to have one, at least one. And yeah, they're going to be pulling out all the stops. They're going to be what they call. What's the word I want? What's the phrase? They bypass the rules that they set for themselves.
Sometimes they call that what a quid
I can't
pro quo.
remember what they call it. What do they call it when you pay no attention to the rules? It's under suspension of the rules.
Oh,
under suspension of the rules. Thanks. All right, and we've only got about 30 seconds. When we come back, we're going to go over the last of these bills, and I'm going to give you a little clue as to what I said in committee. On the
school carry?
No. On the there's so many of these. Bump stock ban. The
bump
ban.
Stock, yeah.
So anyways, when we come back on Gun Radio Utah, stay tuned.
For more information about
Okay. So Karen texts me.
What's that?
Karen texts me.
Yeah.
I heard that. Now she's going to want keys and combinations to my safe.
What theater are you going to?
The luxury ones in Holiday.
The luxury ones?
There's some new luxury ones, yeah. The new ones. They're
Which
on
one?
Murray Holiday Boulevard.
Oh, on Murray Holiday, where?
Well, I'm not telling everybody. I think that's enough information to find out right there.
I didn't know there was any luxury
theaters.
theaters. Hasn't been there since I've been in Holiday. I know of one, but
Watch and see who wins this Thursday at 7
this is what I said. If the metric, we're talking about banning bump stocks because they don't have a legitimate purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I said if the metric to be, well, I'll just say it. But let me get through the whole thing. And because we talked about some other things that would need to be banned as well if we're using that same metric. I found my notes on it.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to make them bigger, though, so I can read them.
Well, nobody else has said anything. It's just Vern. Vern's the only one being talkative on YouTube today.
He's my neighbor.
Hi,
He's a good
neighbor.
guy. Interesting. So I'm looking at this new laser etcher, engraver, cutter.
Are we going to buy one of those?
Well, here's one I just found, and it's a lot cheaper.
How much is it?
$6,000.
Huh?
6.
$6? We'll buy a dozen of them.
Well, here's the thing. It does metal etching.
Yeah. Does it do wood?
Yeah, it does
Glass?
wood. It does yeah.
Jello?
Jello, I'm sure.
Jello?
It does
Can you etch on Jello? Huh?
It's a 45-watt laser.
Why is it so cheap?
It just looks like they
How
designed
big
it
of an
right.
area?
It's small.
How big of a thing can you put in there?
You put a laptop in it.
Can you put a rifle in there?
No. You'd have to take...
Rifle stock?
Yes.
Bill, I say we get one of those. Bill knows all about this stuff.
I was over in Denver. I should go over to Golden and go look at that one company we were talking with.
I want to know what the difference between the 6K one and that one. Oh, coming up.
Oh. Yeah, but I think this would do firearms. That'd be kind of cool.
We're not just gonna let you walk out of here. Who's we, sucker? Smith and Wesson and me.
Gun Radio Utah is back. Talk Radio 105.9 KNRS. Here's your host, Clark Kaposian.
All right, welcome back to Gun Radio Utah. Don't apologize. Don't apologize for listening to Gun Radio Utah on KNRS every Saturday. You don't have to. Right, Bill?
Absolutely
right?
not.
All right. I'm your host, Clark Kaposhin, sitting across from me, co-hosting Bill Patterson. Bill, good to see you here.
It is good to be back.
All right. You know what? We're going to take a little teeny bit of a break. You got to quickly tell us about IHOP, and you got to tell us about High Point, and is there a connection?
There could be a connection. So a Jackson man was on his way to breakfast with his friends. This is just a couple of weeks ago. And as he got out of his car, he unintentionally shot himself in the thigh.
The hell you say?
The hell I say. At the IHOP parking lot. As police and rescue crews were called at 9:50 in the morning of a gunshot victim, the 30-year-old man with his girlfriend and a friend in the parking lot were on their way to eat the restaurant. When he got out of the car, went to holster his gun, and the gun went off, striking him in the left thigh.
So his new nickname is IHOP.
I knew you were going to say that. So the man called and admitted to unintentionally shooting himself. He was the gun was legally owned by the man. He had a valid concealed carry permit. Anything more you want to say about the High Point? No, don't use a High Point's probably.
If you're going to use a High Point, if you're going to use any gun, please use a holster, folks.
Use a holster. And just, I know it's hard sometimes to get in and out of a vehicle if you've got a firearm on you. Maybe rethink how you want to carry. So
first
you don't
off,
have to take your firearm in and out of your holster as you get in your vehicle.
So, Bill, how embarrassing would this have to be when his girlfriend is there with him? He has to call law enforcement and say, 1, I shot myself in the leg. 2, it was with a High Point. And 3, I wasn't using a holster.
Well, 4, that he was at an IHOP.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another High Point story.
No, you have another
The High Point Warranty Center finds a carbine where an individual was calling into customer support saying he was having an accuracy issue and had no idea that the barrels had not left the gun.
The bullets?
The bullets had not left the gun.
Where'd they go?
They just stacked up inside the barrel. Now I'm trying
How many?
35 rounds. Okay. Now I've gone out and I've had, when you're sighting in a gun or something, I've had some really I thought, I bore sighted and it's like, I'm not even in the same county. I don't know where these bullets are going. But once you figure that out and you're not seeing you or hitting or dust
if you don't
flying,
see some dirt flying up down
or
range,
your target exploding,
or you know what,
bananas,
it's gonna feel a little different.
Yeah.
It's gonna sound a little different. And you know what? When your empty shell comes out, I'm assuming this was a semi-auto. It's carbine.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
When the shell comes out, folks, when it's all black and sooty, that should be an indication. Don't put another round in. Find a cleaning rod or something and shove it down that barrel, because you probably have a squib load.
So those in the gun community said this dude needs to go buy a lotto ticket and go to church and say thanks.
Well, and did we
He
figure
is very
Did you
lucky.
say this was a 45?
45.
So 45, that's the big boy on the block for handguns, but for rifles, we're talking, it's a lower pressure round. It's pushing a big heavy bullet, but it's a lower pressure round. Thank goodness it wasn't a 357 mag or something.
Yeah, that could have been really bad. But, you can actually go online to guns.com under news, and they cut away the barrel so you can actually see all the rounds stacked on top of each other. That would be a great conversational piece for the coffee table.
Yeah. Anyway, HB 243, domestic violence modifications. So we talked about that one. That is going well. It's passed on to the Senate. What that does, it says, you know what? If you're the victim of domestic violence and you have a protective order, you're the petitioner on a protective order, guess what? You can use that for 120 days as your concealed carry permit. All right, Lundy, what do we got?
That's a great bill.
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, we're doing good.
That is a really good bill.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and Representative
I don't want
Watkins
to hear any
is
more
doing
Me Too stories.
Yeah, Representative Watkins is really, that should be Lauren's law, quite honestly. All right. Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
Moving right along, HB 325. I don't have a big problem with this one. It's domestic violence weapon amendments. It says that BCI's got to notify local law enforcement, and then at the end of the year, once a year, they've got to report to the legislature as how many people who were prohibited from buying a gun, attempted to buy a gun, but only those folks that were convicted of domestic violence, who were prohibited via a domestic violence conviction, I wanted to add to it and say, you know what? While we're at it, let's include everybody. And let's list them separately as to what. And then we can, because this bill was touted as giving the legislature some good information, some good data.
Yeah, let's get all the data we can out of this.
So I took a page from the House, from the U.S. House Republicans. Now they're in the minority.
Right.
And when the House Democrats, the U.S. House Democrats, ran their universal background check bill, which passed, well, the House Republicans added one little thing in there, and it said, we'd also like information on those people who are not legally here in the United States and legally able to buy a gun, like Canadians, and we want a report on that. So you know what? There may or may not be an amendment coming up on this bill.
Now, you did leave out Canadians, right?
I don't know that I mentioned them specifically. All right, HB 331, Prohibition of Firearm Modification Devices. Thank you, Lundy. All right, so I added. So what this is, it's a bump stock ban.
Right.
I think it's extremely premature, first off, because it may be banned nationally under federal, but there are challenges, namely mine in 10th Circuit, and my attorney just contacted Caleb Kruckenberg just contacted me yesterday saying he's using my name, asked for permission to use my name on a amicus brief on another. But so there's 3 or 4 of these challenges against the bump stock ban federally. So I think it's rather premature. Among other things, what we're talking about is banning an item that over 500,000 people have and have used for over a decade, sometimes 15 years, with one exception, no pattern of problems whatsoever. So if we're going to use that metric, now it was said in testimony that it serves no legitimate purpose. And so I said, if that metric, the legitimate purpose, test, if you will, if that metric is going to be used for determining if an item is worthy of legal status to own, if it can be identified, legitimate, and justified as necessary, there are many other things that will need to be covered in the next piece of legislation, such as ATVs, water skis, silly putty, Tide Pods, swimming pools, backyard fire pits, Pokemon Go, BYU football, and high cholesterol foods, and the entire observance of Halloween. So
you threw BYU in there.
Because people get hurt.
BYU football
and
games.
It serves no legitimate purpose. Casey may.
She's throwing
We're
stuff.
supposed to go to a movie after.
Yeah, she's throwing stuff. I can see it right now.
All right. So further, moving down the list.
That's good.
HB 418, Universal Background Checks for Firearm Purchasers. It finally got sent to a committee. I think it's going to House Law Enforcement Committee. It's HB 418. But it's not going to go anywhere. It's not. I don't think it's not on the schedule right now. And I think Monday's the last day for committee hearing. So if it's not up, it's not going anywhere. And so there you go as far as that. And we've got, what do we got left, Lundy? What do we got? 3. I know. Oh, 2, okay, 2 now. Teachers in New York. They already have a red flag, ERPO law in New York. Guess what? Now, and this is the weird part. Teachers now are one of the people that can be the petitioners for a red flag. And so red flag.
Really?
And this is what's weird is that the teacher can, along with the family or police.
How does that work for someone under 18?
Well, that's exactly what I was saying, because now they have that confiscation power, so to speak. But all the red flag does is says you can't have a gun and you're put on the no-buy list. So if we're talking about a 17-year-old...
How would a teacher even know?
But I mean, if they're I don't know. But it only works for 18 and above. And I think New York, you've got to be 21 even to buy a rifle in New York.
And that's even tough.
And they don't have, and New York has no, private transfer. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. But anyway, that's the new one in New York. And what do we got? Did we talk about Hawaii yet? Did we go to Hawaii?
Not yet.
Hawaii wants to ban the Second Amendment. I mean, flat out, ban the Second Amendment. A group of Hawaii state legislators wants Congress to repeal the right to bear arms, or at least specify that it's not an individual right. That's completely backwards after we had 2, both Heller and McDonald, decisions by the United States Supreme Court, which affirmed what we've always known, that it is, in fact, an actual individual right. So they want to do that. And the thing that gets me is these are the same folks, Bill, that have said, we don't want to take your guns.
Yeah.
We don't want to take your guns. Well, you know what? They can't say that anymore. So, you know, they say that they call the National Rifle Association and people like us paranoid because we oppose, you know, the gun control. And, you know, we argued that it was the end of the Second Amendment. Well, yeah, that's exactly what Hawaii is starting on. So
amazing.
Anyway.
Amazing.
I think we've got, like 30 seconds on this one? All right. So for the last segment, we'll figure out something fun and exciting to do. When we come back on Gun Radio Utah, stay tuned.
Just make it up.
What have you got? Do you have anything?
I have some comments.
Yeah. Okay.
Derek Carter, good friend.
Hi, Derek.
It says, come to the Makerspace, Make Salt Lake. It's like a, you know, they have like a shop.
Make Salt Lake great again?
Yeah, well. Anyway, the Makerspace here in Salt Lake has a nice laser cutter engraver that you can go look at.
Oh. So Bill knows these things, and so... Okay.
Have him IM me on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
And somebody had a comment on the IHOP story, said the better name would be iHoppy.
Yeah, that would be right. IHoppy.
And
IHoppy everywhere now.
And Blue Light 11 wants to know, what about firearm training with the DB bill?
Good. That's a great question.
That's
a great question.
Free
you want to do that?
Free classes.
Well, yeah, we got free classes, but is it automatically saying? So let's talk about that. Would you remind me?
Okay.
Or bring that up. So that's my notes. Okay.
We need to get you over here on a mic. Move all your stuff over. Mic you up. Serious.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
We have about 7.5 minutes for this final segment.
Okay.
I own. Yeah, she says I own your guns. Clark.
What's that?
Karen? She says I own your guns.
Yeah.
Thanks. Except for I do remember, though. This was years ago. We were first married. And I just bought it. Oh, I don't even want to talk about this one because this one has some really bad thoughts. But
okay, so let's bring that up because that's a good point, and it was brought up in committee. And Senator Hilliard, actually.
Lyle?
Yes, he talked about that a little. But before he even said anything, I addressed it in my comments, and it still passed out. He still voted for it. But I think he was kind of on the fence. I think everybody wanted to go home, though.
You know, that's
because that committee started at 4, and I think it finally ended. I think mine was the second to last bill.
Oh, really?
And I got out of there at 8:30.
Do you have anything Monday?
10 a.m. You want to
10
go?
a.m. Crap. I'll try to get up there by 10. Oh, I have a conference call at 10, but I can come up right after that.
Okay. I don't know where it is on the list. Remind me, and I'll look to see. Well, in fact, I can tell you.
I have the mobile app.
We got a minute. All right, it is. It's number 1.
Oh, I'll miss that. Darn it.
Sorry for yelling. It's number 1 on the list. In House 20. So it's in the House building, which is, so not the cafeteria building, but the other one.
Yeah.
The West building. At 10.
Okay.
Which is, I thought it was at 8, but I guess Ryan said it was at 10. I'm just going to double check that. And have you got anything else that we need to go to you for?
Hunting.
Okay, let's go to you straight. About
Straight
7.5 minutes, and let's go straight to you for hunting.
Yeah, because I posted something online.
I saw that. It kind of worried me at first.
Well, it did worry my dad all night. And I'm like, Dad, you know where I'm going with this. He goes, I didn't sleep all night last night. Are you okay? And I'm like, Dad.
Hey, I had to read that thing a couple times, so it's okay.
I still have
it worked out okay.
a 50-50 chance of not
constitutional right to bear arms. It's Gun Radio Utah on Talk Radio 105.9 KNRS. Here's your host, Clark Aposian.
And welcome back to Gun Radio Utah. Bill Pedersen. Clark sitting in the captain chair across from me. So, most of you know, and if you followed me on Facebook, I posted something out there that may have scared and traumatized a lot of individuals. But we take this very serious this past week, and many of you that are big game hunters know exactly what I'm talking about. Last Thursday was the last day you had to submit your applications for your big game draws. And so I kind of played into it. I've got a lot of points. I'm going to tell everyone right now, I got a lot of points.
And what good are those points?
Those points, I know. Last year they didn't do me any good.
Can you turn those in for Sky Miles or something?
Exactly. Or a cheese grater or something? No. But I've got a lot of points. But a lot of people in the same boat that I'm in right now have a lot of points too. And only half of us are going to draw permits.
Can you gift your points?
You know what? I've been thinking about that.
No, I mean, seriously, can you gift them?
I don't know if you can or you can't.
If you can't, let's.
But I can gift my tag.
Okay.
So if I draw a tag and I can't hunt, or let's say I want to have a friend or a family member, I can do that.
So why don't we run a bill that says you can gift your points?
What I want to do is run a bill that says every year that you don't apply, that you apply and don't draw, you can apply the money that you spent on your tag for those points to your permit.
Or how about to a tax credit overall?
Or a tax credit. I'd rather have it applied to my permit.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, let's run that.
That would be $190.
Well, you know what? Let's run. You should have told me. Well, let's run that. Let's get somebody to run that bill.
We'll get someone to run that bill, then maybe we'll all be better. But good luck to everyone out there that has applied for your big game permit. I hope you get one. I hope you draw. I just hope you don't draw one before me. I'll just be honest.
Dorn, we had some questions. Lundy, what do we got? We got to answer questions. All right, so we got 5 minutes to answer questions. And what are some questions that are coming up on Facebook, YouTube? Okay, firearm training.
Yeah.
All right, so firearm training. Good question. HB 243, Representative Christine Watkins, great bill, and it's moving right along into the Senate. So call your senator, say vote for HB 243. Call your senator. It's a great bill. We worked a long time on this one. And what it says is, your protective order is your permit for 120 days. And some people have rightfully said, hey, there's no training. First off, that doesn't mean that they don't have training. It just means it's not mandated. Two, they may already have some training. Next, they can get training from their friends. They may already have training. Also, what we're talking about is, well, let's look. We have a laboratory of sorts, if you will. States like Utah, which has basically 4 hours worth of training, but it's not hourly. It's content-based. And then you've got state like Arizona, which still has a concealed carry permit and requires a modicum of training. They used to have 8 hours or 16 hours, actually, at one point. And then you've got a state like Washington, which has 0 hours of training required. 0. You just walk into your sheriff's department, they run the background check, and you're good to go.
What about a constitutional state where you don't need a permit?
Exactly. And so, but what I was using there is those 3 states, Utah, Arizona, Washington, have roughly the same number of permits within 150, 200,000 people or so. And there is no difference, Bill, and there never has been a difference in all the 20-some-odd years that we've looked at this of illegal or negligent accidental shootings.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right.
that you would think that would be higher in states that don't have that safety or legal training, and lower in states that you do. There is absolutely no difference. So if there was, then that would be a great argument. Now, also, we're talking about exigency here. We're talking about exigency. Yes, I'm a firearms instructor. I think everybody should get training and come to me for super extra training and all that. But it's like swimming, okay? If you see somebody drowning, don't look over them and say, you should take swimming lessons. And maybe even give them swimming lessons as they're drowning. No, you throw them a life preserver, and then you save them, and then you give them swimming lessons afterwards at a less exigent time.
Right.
Okay? Now's not the time to be saying, you should take swimming lessons.
Right.
All right. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on that?
But there's some great organizations out there, and I'm going to just say women-specific groups that do this training.
The Well-Armed Women.
Well-Armed Women.
Michelle Camp is really fantastic with that, and she has many other instructors out there that give free classes. And we give free classes. I give free classes.
Yeah.
If somebody shows up with a protective order, you don't even have to show up with a protective order. If you need it and you tell me, we're on the honor system, you get your free class.
Exactly.
But it has to go along with my schedule. And so my schedule may not.
You're very busy.
Like try to do it during the
man.
legislative session.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But
yeah, I mean, there are good groups out there, and if you don't know any, just go to UtahShootingSportsCouncil.org. Send us an email. We'll get back to you. We'll put you in touch with these great groups, and you can go talk to them and get involved and become a proficient shooter. I had a gal that told me the other day. She goes, "I don't know if I could do that." She goes, "It's been a long time since I've shot a gun." She goes, "I can shoot a gun," but she goes, "I don't feel proficient." Well, let's get out, do the training.
Yeah.
So.
You know, one of the other things that they said, and this is one of those pervasive myths, that if a woman points a gun at a man, the man will automatically take the gun from them. Okay, first off,
that's
a myth.
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't happen. And two,
try it.
Would you hate to be that man that wants to roll the dice on that one?
Yeah. Not in this day and age. Not in this day and age.
That's the refrain that we hear is, they'll just take.
They'll just use it on you. Well, yeah. Pull out a gun and see what happens.
Yeah,
if you want to take that risk.
If you want to roll the dice on that one.
You know how it works out.
And I think it actually started a long time ago when law enforcement were losing their guns, and they would usually get shot with their own guns in the 60s and 70s, even 80s, until they started working on some other weapon retention techniques. But anyway, so Bill, I think I'm going to be gone next week.
Are you going to be gone?
Yeah. I got to go to California.
I'll be around.
Yeah. And you know what? I can still, maybe no one will even notice because, you do such a fantastic job. We'll need to get Casey Jane in here, though.
Yeah, we'll get some special guests or something.
Yeah.
We'll surprise our audience.
Hey, thanks for listening to Gun Radio Utah. You can pull up that podcast on KNRS/media. KNRS.com/media.
Yeah.
And you can pull it up on YouTube, Gun Radio Utah, on Facebook. And you can see what
see what
I
happens
look like
in the studio.
Yeah, you see what happens in the studio. Thanks. Till next week.